actually, we disagree on this, but I think it was Laurie Warmby's 10th anniversary, and Laurie was in charge of the table tennis, and he invited Darby to his 10th wedding anniversary beach house, as it was called then, down Sandy Bay. And those days you always used to take a partner. I don't know why you could never turn up by yourself, but you had to take partners. And he asked me. So that was the first date as such. That was rather a nice evening. We were both very nervous. Darby couldn't eat, of course. And I wasn't going too well either. I wasn't used to restaurants.
So how many years had you known each other before that first date? Or how long, I should say? You said there was a time there where you had table tennis and you're working. So that first date...
I was probably 18.
Right, so a couple of years.
Yes, yeah. Yes, or a year before we got round to that.
What about meeting the parents, Darby Quinn parents?
Yes, that was somebody's birthday.
Was that before that first date, though?
No, it was after that.
Okay.
We used to just go to films. That was the thing to do. The pictures, we used to call it. And I used to meet him in town. He didn't have a car. I'd catch a bus into town and we'd meet and we'd go to the films. He would choose which ones.
That's a tradition that went for a while, isn't it, Grandma?
Yes, yes. Oh yes, we used to practice table tennis Friday nights. And then we went in the state team. Both of us were in the Tasmanian state team in 1959. And we went to Perth for that. Darby did very well, but I was a bit overwhelmed with it all. And of course, got sick because didn't drink enough in the hot weather. And we met this doctor from the South Australian team, and Darby knew him, and he told us take salt, more salt, everyone to have more salt. So I became a bit better then. Well, we went over on the train, whatever it was called. Transcontinental, was it? Transcontinental.
Railway.
It took a couple of days.
In the sleeper carriages? Girls sleeping with girls, boys sleeping with boys?
Yes. Didn't know the team very well. A lot of them were from the up north, as we called it, that other place in the state. And I didn't know them that well. They all knew each other well and they sort of stuck together a bit. So I felt a bit isolated even then. But yeah, I sort of enjoyed it. You'd go to bed at night, look out the window, travel all night, wake up the next morning, look out the window. You weren't too sure if you'd moved.
It's the same scenery, Grandma.
Same scenery. The only thing was during the night you were rocked backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards.
My word, I wouldn't sleep at all.
And then you think, oh, perhaps I'll have a shower. But the shower seemed to be going left and I seemed to be going right. And it's sort of very hard to coordinate to get under the water.
There wasn't a huge amount of water to aim for, was there, Grandma?
So, that was it.